But while our hymnal has 3 verses, there are actually 4 verses of O Come All Ye Faithful in the original Latin text. And the missing verse doesn't talk about Bethlehem or the angels or about glory, but it addresses a very complex, a very deep theological issue that the early church grappled with. And here's what it says. It says, God of God and light of light begotten, lo, he abhors not the virgin's womb. Very God, begotten, not created. O come, let us adore him. And here's what it would sound like. Stephanie is going to sing it for us. Stephanie.
Not in Latin.
Not in Latin.
God of God and light of light begotten, lo, he abhors not the virgin's womb. Very God, begotten, not created, oh come, let us adore him. Oh come, let us adore him. Oh come, let us adore him. Christ the Lord.
Thank you, Stephanie. That phrase that she sang that says begotten, not created, was written to stand as a declaration of faith to those who would deny that Jesus is God. Because there were people in the early church that reasoned that if God made Jesus, if God created Jesus, then Jesus must not be as powerful as God. But as people of faith, we say that Jesus is God. And so God created everything. But God did not create Jesus because Jesus is God. And so at Christmas time, we celebrate how Jesus came into the world, how he was born as a baby. But we also remember how Jesus was present at the creation. The Gospel of John tells us, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And one way that you can understand what the Gospel writer meant is to say the name Jesus in place of Word. That is what he meant. So we can say, in the beginning was Jesus, and Jesus was with God, and Jesus was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehendeth it not. And our challenge is that the light of Jesus came into a dark world and shines in the darkness. But our hearts are so corrupted and darkened by the world around us that we fail to fully grasp and experience the wonder and majesty and joy that Jesus gives to us as his followers. And we hear of the shepherds and the angels in Luke. In Matthew, we hear of the wise men. But John's Christmas story is just one verse long. But it's a wonderful verse. It says, and the Word, that is Jesus, was made flesh and dwelt among us. And we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. And when we have seen Jesus, we have seen God. And we're careful here that we understand what is meant by begotten in the original Greek. In one sense, all of us who are children of God are begotten by God. We're believers and we are God's sons and God's daughters by adoption. But to say that Jesus is begotten of God is to understand the word in the sense of meaning that Jesus is the only one there is, that Jesus is unique in kind, because Jesus is uniquely God's Son and that Jesus shares the same divine nature of God. And theologians speak of the idea that Jesus is of the same substance of God. And it can all get very deep and very complicated, and in some sense, terms such as Father and Son describe God and Jesus are human terms that help us understand what we're not really even capable of understanding. But here is the bottom line on all of that. Jesus is God. And our gospel is that God loved us so much that God revealed himself to us in the form of Jesus and came into the world to make our lives better and to save us. For as John tells us, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. For God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. Listen now as our choir sings, Jesus, the Son of God.
Jesus.